Hello. It's a quarter after 11. I'm relaxing. I'll probably be going to bed in a little while. I'm probably lying because I have insomnia and I want to read. But I'm going to claim that I'm going to try to go to bed. I'm in my pajamas. I wanted to show you this shirt that I bought. And it says, I like to party. And by party, I mean read books. I got it from Hot Topic, and it's a men's shirt, and I bought it in a medium, which is why it's so big. I would have gotten it in a small, but I found that with smalls, as far as length, they fit fine, but they usually fit like this in the neck. It was going to sell out, so I decided to buy it. Kind of like it as a nice long shirt to lounge around in. I decided to talk about books that I have abandoned and why. I don't have a lot on my list because I honestly don't hate books enough to abandon them. One book I have on my list is a book called A Year of Reading Dangerously: How 50 Great Books and 2 Not So Great Ones Saved My Life by Andy Miller. This book sounded like it was up my alley. I like books about books, and I like books about people reading books. I ended up abandoning it because I did not like the author's tone. I felt like I was being spoken down to. Like there was this arrogance that was driving me nuts. And it wasn't until I read other reviews that I realized it wasn't just me. I did read the majority of the book. I'm looking at my own review and I stopped around the 200th page and it's 352 pages. So I gave it a good amount of reading, but I guess after a while I just couldn't deal with his tone. It just started to grate on my nerves. The words I used is that he seems very inflated, and to use another reviewer's word, pompous. I only vaguely remember this now because this was about 2 years ago, but after a while I was like, all right, I just couldn't deal with it, so I put it down. $2 a Day, Living on Almost Nothing in America by Catherine Eden. This was not a book that I abandoned because I didn't like it. I abandoned it because it was depressing. This might be a book I might go back to, but at the time when I tried to read it, I realized that I was not in the mood to read it. It was well written, it had good information, it had good resources, so there was nothing bad about this book, but the subject matter just wasn't it's not a feel-good book. It was depressing me because it was just talking about how I mean, it made it blatantly clear that some people are just going to stay poor, and it's just like, no, I don't want to read this. I was interested in the subject matter. I was interested in the book, which is why I grabbed it. But I was a little overwhelmed by how deep it got, so I dropped it. But it wasn't because the book was bad. So this is a book I might decide to pick up at a later time. Then, then there's this beast. City on Fire by Garth Risk Halberg. Now, this one you've probably heard about. This was a big one, literally and figuratively a big one. It's a 900-page tome that I abandoned at around 700 pages, so I definitely gave it my all. There's a part of me that's still mad at myself because you figure if you got that far, you should have just kept going, but I just couldn't do it anymore. This was this author's debut novel, and there was a huge bidding war as far as publishers, and it was purchased for like $2 million or something. It was a big deal. It's so funny to be a avid reader and say that a book is too verbose, but it was too verbose for me. It wasn't just the verbosity of this book, it was also the fact that it followed way too many characters. I've read plenty of fantasy novels will have 2 or 3 narratives. The Spoonbender's book, which I loved, followed 5 family members. I had no problem with it. This was like 8 or 9, 10, 11 people. Literally each chapter it was a different person, which wouldn't be so bad if you knew who the person was. A lot of books, if you're switching to the other narrative, they make it very clear at the beginning, the top of the page, or the beginning of the paragraph. But there was no indication when you switch to the character whom you were following. And it wasn't until maybe like the second or third page sometimes into the chapter, you're like, oh, I'm following James or whoever. And that got very irritating. Not to mention, by 700 pages, I didn't even know what was going on. Who are you supposed to be caring about? One of the things about fiction is that you have to have some sort of investment in someone or something. There's nothing wrong with hating a character or two, but you have to have something that you're caring about to where you want to keep turning the page. I'm pretty sure I hit about 700 pages and I was like, what in the world is this? There's a part of me that even to this day, and it's been almost 2 years, I keep asking myself, was it me, or was I not in the mood to try to read this? I was the first person to check this book out from the library. As a matter of fact, the director of the library asked me to be the guinea pig. She took home the audio disc and she dropped it after, I think, the second disc. She was trying to listen to it while she was driving, and she said by the second disc she just couldn't deal with it. Out of all the books on this list, I feel the most guilty about this one because I put the most amount of time into this and dropped it. But I was getting frustrated. I was getting a headache. And just so you understand, the fact that this book was over 900 pages did not deter me at all. Say what you're going to say. I was reading other reviews and I remember someone saying something like it took 4 pages to explain someone sitting down in the chair. It was just ridiculous. I almost got the sense that the author sat with a thesaurus right next to him and that's how he was writing the book. And I didn't care about anybody. I didn't even get a chance to care about anybody because literally every chapter, it was just, oh my goodness, it was just too much. It was just too much. Part of me is like tempted to try to go back and read it. Maybe if I'm in a better mood, I might like it more. I don't know. The next book on the list is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This is a book I can admit that I did not give a chance at all. Usually when I drop a book, it's after definitely giving it a chance. If I feel like a book isn't my thing, oh, let me give it a couple more chapters, or I at least try to read about 25% of a book before I really start making decisions. The reason why I dropped this book is that when I started to read it, I was at the very beginning, probably just a couple chapters in, and I just got this vibe. I don't know how to explain it. I just got this feeling that this book was going to go in an area that I did not want to go. And it turned out I was right. I found out later after looking up that I was absolutely correct, exactly where it was going to go. And I guessed the ending somehow, even though I did not get anywhere into the book where I would truly be able to guess endings. And maybe there was foreshadowing in the very beginning that I caught, but I was like, if this is what it's about, I don't want it. There have been people who have said that this book romanticizes suicide. I hate to get into conversations like that, but I don't think that this is the situation where people are blowing things out of proportion. I do believe that it's a little romanticized. I got that vibe just from maybe the 2 chapters. I mean, the characters weren't even established, and I was like, I don't know. It was just this weird vibe, and I just wasn't interested. I did not like the vibe I got, so I dropped it. Next we have After Alice by Gregory Maguire. This one I felt bad about until I checked reviews. Admittedly, I have never read any Gregory Maguire book, but I know a lot about the books because I'm the kind of person that just has information in my head for no reason. So I do know the story, I know about the Wicked years, I know all those things. I just never read the books. Originally, when I could not get into this book and dropped it, I thought it was just, oh, I guess I'm just not used to the way Gregory Maguire writes, but apparently there are plenty of people who are fans of Gregory Maguire that could not stand this book. I think out of the small list of books I've abandoned, this was the book I abandoned the most quickly at about 20 pages because it was tedious. You might have heard me say, oh, this book flows well, or this book is choppy. This book was choppy. It was the kind of book that it was written in such a way that you couldn't get into the book because it does this, literally, and your brain is doing this. And I just could not get into it. And at around page 20, it was just so tedious. I just couldn't get into it, and I ended up dropping it, and I'm still interested in reading the rest of Gregory Maguire's books, just not this one. If anybody who's watching this, if you enjoyed it, I'm glad you did, genuinely, because books are meant to be enjoyed, and it would suck if every single person hated a book. Next on the list is The Geography of Genius, A Search for the World's Most Creative Places from Ancient Athens to Silicon Valley by Eric Weiner. I'm not sure there was anything wrong with this book. I think the problem was format. Last year, I was trying to listen to audiobooks. I wanted to try to find a way to listen to books when I am not in a position to actually sit down and read. If I have things to work on, but I want to listen to a story. And this, for me, is the wrong book. I do have bipolar disorder, so I do have attention issues. I think I could just have to keep it simple. It's possible that nonfiction is just not for me as far as audio. At first, I was listening to it, and then after a while, I kind of just went into La La Land, and like I'd have to start the disc from the beginning over and over again. I'm pretty sure that it has nothing to do with the book. It was just, that was a wrong choice for me with audio. But before I started going to La La Land, it actually sounded interesting. Then we have Soundless by Rochelle Mead. I really hate mispronouncing names, so I hope that's right. This is a YA book. This was a book that I had once again gotten to in audio. But unlike the last book I mentioned, the issue wasn't that I couldn't pay attention to it. The problem was that this book takes place in a village where everyone is deaf, and the protagonist suddenly finds that she can hear, and then the adventure begins. So you have characters that are signing to each other, and here I am hearing them speak because that's what an audiobook is. It was messing up the story for me. Plain and simple. I don't know what I was looking at right there. I wasn't even looking at the screen. I was just looking at the wall. I'm like my Labrador. It's supposed to be soundless, and I'm hearing speaking and all this emotion where there's really signing, and it was definitely the wrong choice for audio for me. It probably didn't bother other people. In the way my thought process runs and the way my imagination was, I couldn't separate the fantasy of the book with the reality that I'm listening to an audiobook. It just messed me up. I had actually planned on returning the audiobook at the library and picking up the physical copy, and I got sidetracked, and this was almost 2 years ago. So now we have a book called The Invisible Library, which is the first of a series by Genevieve Cogman. I don't even know. This was a book I abandoned last summer. It's possible that I did not give this book enough of a chance. I started to say that I probably didn't give this book enough of a chance until I actually checked my tracking in Goodreads and realized that I read 235 pages out of 330, so I obviously gave it a chance. This is why I like Goodreads, because I can actually see how much of a book I've read. According to my review, the concept was really enticing, but it didn't keep my attention. I put that I didn't care about any of the characters, and I found myself becoming increasingly bored. I don't remember not caring about the characters, but I do remember that I was kind of bored and disappointed because when I picked up the book and read the back of the book, it sounded like it was right up my alley, and as I got into the book, it just wasn't my thing. So we have Before We Were Yours by Lisa Lingate. I'm clearly in the minority because this book, people were setting themselves on fire over this story. The story itself, like the concept, is amazing. And there was nothing wrong with the writing. The writing wasn't choppy. There was nothing wrong with the characters suck. I just could not get into this book. I think one of the issues is that this is the type of book where you, as the reader, have information that a main character doesn't pretty much from the beginning, and it's a big piece of information. You are just waiting to see how it all unfolds, and I think that was what kind of messed me up because you're waiting for the character to have a revelation instead of there being a twist to a story. I think the situation is that I get a lot of digital galleys from First to Read. This was around the time that I made the fatal mistake of entering giveaway for all the books that they offered, thinking that the odds were that I was only going to get maybe 2 of the books, and I got all but 2. And Before We Were Yours was actually not a book that I requested. It was a book they gave to me. Every once in a while, I'll get an email from First to Read saying, "Oh, we're so glad that you're reading, reviewing our books. Here's another one." And I'm like, I got other stuff to read. Because of that, I have to make decisions. If I don't like a book, even if it's an arc, it's like you gotta let stuff go and move on to the next arc. And sometimes if I have time, I've gone back to arcs that I couldn't finish. But the subject matter, I will admit with that one, the subject matter is dicey as far as emotions. Before We Were Yours is historical fiction, so it is based on very true story of some messed up stuff. And that might have been what it was. It might have been psychologically in the back of my head. I was like, hell no. There was nothing wrong with the writing. I just want to make that clear because a lot of people like this book. So it was just me. That's my list of abandoned books, and we're all up to date. That is literally all the books that I have abandoned since I started seriously getting back into reading 2 years ago. Not a lot compared to what I've actually read, so I think that's pretty good. What did you think of my list? Did you read any of the books on this list? What did you think? How do you feel when you abandon a book? What am I looking at? Jeez Louise, I'm staring right into the light. What is my problem? So that's it for now, and hopefully I will see you next week. Have a wonderful week and happy reading.